Hello, hello, and welcome, everyone. It is time for another Women's Wellness Webinar Wednesday. And today's theme is the Hormone Weight Loss Program. This is the kickoff webinar. So, welcome to week one or part one of this 4-part series where I'm going to walk you through everything from how to know if you have some hormone imbalance to what to look for, hormones that affect your weight, what to eat for hormone balance, and so much more. So welcome, I'm Julie Hodge, a certified personal trainer, certified nutrition coach, and hormone-based fitness specialist. I've been in practice for over 31 years now, supporting hundreds of women. And I specialize in supporting women as they approach or are in perimenopause in finding that beautiful lifestyle balance of thriving even as hormones may be starting to change. All right. So welcome again today to the Hormone Weight Loss Program, week one or part one of a 4-part series. I'm really happy you're here. So before we start, I do just want to talk a little bit about some housekeeping things. So if you're really interested in this topic and you want to get the most out of it, I recommend that you turn off your phone or silence distractions. Grab a notepad and a pen and take notes. Jot down those little aha moments or whatever you see that you want to try to implement, okay? Because a lot of what I'm going to give you today, including some suggestions for dining out and a sample daily program or daily routine, might be things that you want to keep in mind and try to do yourself. So that said, I will talk today about eating out. I'll give you some guidelines and suggestions that I give my clients and my VIP signature clients about what to do when you do go out to restaurants. I'll talk about a sample daily schedule, including some nutrition things, and then 7 hormones that cause weight gain, and also talk a little bit more about what causes hormone imbalance in case you're like, oh yes, I relate to that or that applies to me. So settle in. This will be probably a shorter series as I'm breaking this big program up into segments for you. So let's move right in to getting started. So the first slide here that I'm going to show you, this is just all about establishing a plan. All right. So as most of us know, I'm just going to pick on meal prep. Without a plan, we often don't do as well as we hope we do. And sometimes we outright fail, which is great because when we fail, we learn what we did that we could improve upon next time. All right. So give yourself the grace of being able to fail, of being able to get it wrong the first time or 2 or 3, because those failures will create new pathways to remembering what does work. Okay. So give that to yourself. So having a plan is huge. For example, every night, okay, review and plan your meals and your snacks for the following day. Some women want to do this every night. Some women want to do this once a week and meal plan on Sundays and do all the prep. Totally up to you. But the key to a successful hormone diet, and I don't mean diet in terms of restriction in calories, I mean diet in terms of healthy eating program, is to eat enough to stay satisfied. And so when we have a plan in place and you know what your snack is, what your breakfast is, what your lunch and dinners are, you'll know to have those groceries available. You'll know to have those meals and snacks made or prepared and what you're going to eat, which saves you from being in that, oh my gosh, I let myself get too hungry moment. And you choose, usually the quick thing that's usually loaded with sugars or what have you, and not so great for hormone balancing. So have that plan in place. And if you need, a sample or a blank meal planner, I've got lots. I'm happy to give you one. You get them with the meal plan, recipe club, for example, and lots of the different guides that I offer. Also, if you go to the store, lots of programs have plain blank meal planners that you can fill in on your own. Okay, but if you need one, let me know. So eating on a regular schedule, of course, helps keep our hormones in balance. This is why I promote eating within 60 minutes of waking up in the morning so that you can set the stage for hormone balance and blood sugar balance all day long, avoiding that afternoon crash. Your body knows when you haven't fed it enough of the right nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. So chances are later in the day, if you find yourself really craving sugar or really craving whatever it is, you might want to look at what you're doing first thing in the morning. Okay. Eating on a regular schedule and knowing what you're going to eat, so having that plan, also helps prevent excessive hunger, like I mentioned. And skipping meals or eating too little leads to deprivation. And like I said, quite often those poor choices. So a plan should include time to purchase what you need, okay, for that week or those few days that you're planning for, all right? And it should also include preparing of the foods. So, meal prepping. So you have that, whether it's throwing it in the freezer and grabbing it out of the freezer the night before, or having a few days fresh in your fridge to grab and go. This is huge, okay? So if you are going to make any changes based on today or any of that other stuff, just make sure that if you are working with your physician or a doctor, that you engage, especially if you have anything like diabetes or what have you, or are on any medications, to make sure that that new plan is going to work for you and not be contraindicated according to your physician's care plan. So number one is establishing that plan. So now I'm going to talk about eating out. All right. So these are all kind of your preemptive steps to being prepared, to balancing your hormones, to ultimately create the behaviors and to create the strategies to turn on that hormone-based weight loss for yourself, particularly if you're finding that nothing you're doing is working to get you there. If your weight loss keeps increasing, or it's stuck or stagnant, okay? So the second part of today is also that eating out plan. So here are a few ideas and strategies that I can share with you. Number one, same as planning to have healthy snacks and meals, is planning to eat out. So avoid all you can eat buffets. All right. So if you find that you really need kind of more accountability, or you're not sure just yet that you trust your conviction, okay, avoid the buffets. Order your salads with lemon or an olive oil dressing or something, balsamic vinaigrette on the side, so that you can control what that is. Drink water, okay, with lemon or just plain water or a non-sweetened herbal tea on the side, not on the side, but with your meal, as opposed to drinking sugared or caloric beverages with the food, okay? Because again, the more added sugars you have through alcohol or pops or whatever, the more hormonally imbalanced you could be based on those blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance, and all of that, okay? Order your sauces and dressings on the side. Order things like chicken, salmon, shrimp, whitefish, those type of foods, and ask how the dishes are prepared. When you have the opportunity to do so, ask that they are steamed or broiled or grilled. Okay, you could save yourself some excess inflammation triggers by watching how the food is made. It can make a big difference. Okay, so instead of having the fish that's all breaded and fried, you can have the fish that is grilled, broiled, or steamed type of thing. Okay, you want to choose dishes that are made with red sauces when you can, instead of the white or the cream sauces. And then pass on the bread basket. Or if you must, because it's not about feeling restricted, limit yourself to one small portion rather than having the second or third serving before you even get to your meal. And then what I would recommend is two other things, bonus tips. These days, most restaurants and establishments have their their menus, either online or on their Facebook page. So do a little research ahead of time. If you know where you're going to eat, have the plan to know what they offer, what are you going to order, and have that plan in place so that you're not overwhelmed when you get this gigantic menu and you don't let your eyes take over from your tummy, okay, or your taste buds, so to speak. So have that plan, look at the menu ahead of time to decide what you're going to order. Make it simple. You can just enjoy the social aspect of it even more that way. And my second bonus tip would be to have a small snack before you go, to avoid, number one, getting super, super hungry and straying outside of what I call the hunger scale. Okay. And then the second part of that is, if you have that little snack as well, you will not be as hungry, of course, and you're going to preload that meal, so you may not need as much. And that applies if you do decide to have a treat meal. With that small snack, listen to when you're getting full, you won't need as much, and you will have put some healthy stuff in your body beforehand. So that's a little overview on some really awesome tips and guidelines for eating out. And I do have a guide called Dining Out, Your Tip to Eating on the Road, available if you're interested in that. It has a lot more tips and strategies, again, to help with that behavioral change, to create that new habit, but give you some great ideas that maybe you haven't thought of before. So let's move on. I'm going to share with you like a bit of a daily schedule here. Now, again, this is based on a hormone weight loss type of a program. All the things you need to know to take these little pieces and put them together to create the puzzle that fits your life. So here's an example of a daily schedule. And remember last month, the month of April, in our Fit Over 40 group, we talked all about having routines, morning routines, evening routines. Having routines can be powerful, no different than having, a daily plan, same kind of thing. So let's say upon waking, this is based on hormone balancing goodness, okay, and hormone balancing weight loss and optimizing your health. So upon waking, let's say you want to have a nice glass of lemon water. Maybe you want to warm that up just a little bit so it's not freezing cold. Or maybe you want to have a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, or have an apple cider vinegar gummy, or whatever with your glass of water in the day. The first thing you have to start to stimulate digestion and start to encourage your morning bowel movement. So have that even before you have coffee, which of course, if you're a coffee drinker, can stimulate your bowels as well, but kind of in a different way. So that can be your new morning routine upon waking, okay, is having some lemon, throwing it in some water, and having that before you have anything else to start to stimulate digestion. Now, the second thing you might want to do is more of a behavioral thing, more of a mind, body, or a mental focus. Is maybe that's when you're going to sit there as you're sipping your water and maybe journal for the morning, or maybe record how you feel, or maybe take 2 minutes to breathe, focus on having like a little breath work meditation, and really calm and set your intentions of the day ahead. That's a great way to set that morning routine. This helps to connect with yourself and get off that right off the bat, go, go, go mentality in the morning, and instead be more cognizant and conscious and in control, 3 C's, of your day. Then we have breakfast. So I have some suggested meals in a guide that I offer as part of a hormone balancing and weight loss plan. But you want to think about eating, as I mentioned before, no less than 90 minutes upon waking. You don't want to go too long before you put protein and fiber in your body to help blood sugar stability, help with your insulin levels, and help reduce crashes and cravings later in the day. So in the morning, make sure that you have a nice, healthy, hormone balanced breakfast. So what is not a hormone balanced breakfast? A hormone balanced breakfast is not a slice of toast with butter. It is not a bunch of berries, okay? It is not your Wheaties or Chex cereal with milk. A really good hormone balancing breakfast provides you with a really good source of protein, 25 to 30 grams of protein. It gives you a really good source of dietary fiber, whether that's through whole grains, okay, whether that's through fibrous vegetables, or whether that's through nuts and seeds. All right, and you want to have a nice dietary fat with your breakfast as well. For example, a little bit of an avocado, or some coconut oil, or olive oil, or maybe even MCT oil, a splash of that in your morning coffee. So a high quality protein, some dietary fat, and a fiber source. That is a hormone balancing breakfast. So let's move on to mid-morning. Now, if you need it, this is where you can have your morning snack. Now, for many reasons, some people may need a morning snack. Let's say they are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Let's say they are experiencing some moderate to severe adrenal fatigue, burnout, or dysfunction. In that case, it may be very recommended to have smaller meals more often through the day to help support blood sugar, cortisol, you name it. But if you are not hungry and you've had a really good breakfast and those caveats do not apply to you, then you may want to have the morning snack or not if you do not need it, okay? If your energy is balanced and you're good, you don't need to snack for the sake of snacking, okay? So again, a nice, maybe a lower carb snack would be perhaps an apple with an ounce of cheese or an ounce of nuts, okay? Keep in mind, if you are experiencing higher levels of inflammation, let's say you have joint pain, or you have any arthritis happening, or you have any gut issues happening, you may want to avoid inflammation causing foods. So skip the cheese, opt for the nuts and seeds. Okay, maybe a tablespoon of nut butter with your apple or pear or fresh berries. That is a great snack. And now let's move on to lunch. Again, you want to eat a hormone balancing meal. So just putting together a whole bunch of iceberg lettuce with olive oil and balsamic vinegar is not a hormone balancing lunch. it does not provide you with a protein source. It doesn't really provide you with that much fiber from food. Romaine lettuce on its own is not nutritionally dense with its vitamins and minerals. So throw in some snap peas, throw in some tomatoes, throw in some cucumbers, maybe throw in some shredded carrots, some corn, nuts, seeds, cut up a little avocado, throw that in there, throw in some beets, whatever it is, really create like a beautiful Buddha bowl type salad or meal. Sprinkle in some quinoa, maybe some lean ground turkey or chicken, or maybe last night you had burgers and you have a leftover patty. Cut up the patty and throw that in for protein. Make sure it's a hormone balancing meal. Then for lunch, again, same rules apply. After lunch, if you need that snack, opt for a hormone balancing snack. Fiber source and a lean protein is ideal. And then again, a nice hormone balancing dinner, having the lean protein, the fibrous carbohydrate source, and a dietary fat. And then after dinner, if you need that snack before you go to bed, by all means, have it if you feel like you're really, really starving. Things like you can have frozen bananas with little dollops of a natural nut butter on them, or freeze some grapes and pop those in if you need a little sweet treat at the end of the day. Now, before bedtime, this is another great routine. So this is time for you to look at what is your bedtime routine? What is going to tell your body that it's time to decompress and get ready for rest and sleep and rejuvenation time. This is a great time to take any of those herbal sleep aids that you might need, or one of your supplements like magnesium, okay, an hour or two before bedtime. Great time for that. This may be where you want to start doing things like dry brushing. I've recently started dry brushing in the evening, and I have a body dry brush, and it helps to stimulate circulation. It helps to stimulate the lymph and circulate lymph through the lymph glands through my body. And it actually also helps to reduce cellulitic tissue around the body. So if you don't dry brush, you may want to incorporate dry brushing as well. And I have information on that if you'd like it. So start to go into your evening routine. That's time to cleanse your face, brush your teeth, all those things. It might be time to have a nice Epsom salt bath. It may be time to light a candle and do a meditation, or go to bed when you get tired and read your book until the eyes start to close. Maybe time to do a little gentle yoga or stretching, okay? Time to calm down. The morning is time to rev up, and the evening is time to calm down. Maybe that is when you're going to have that dump it journal next to your bed, and you're going to write down all those things that you want to let go of and release so they don't bother you through the night. So there's a sample daily schedule with maybe some new options for you to consider if you haven't already considered. But I always recommend having some sort of a routine, because that routine can really, really, really help support your hormone weight loss goals. And the behaviors and strategies are what lead to turning that on for you. So the juicy stuff, we're going to talk about those 7 hormones that can and do affect your weight. So the first and foremost I will talk about is, of course, cortisol. All right. It is our primary stress hormone, as I mentioned in last week's training. When we have periods of that prolonged stress, that imbalance can occur. Okay. It can change the cortisol rhythm and lead to imbalances. When they're high, when they should be low, and low when they should be high, or chronically high, or consistently low, it's due to some communication disruption between your brain and your adrenal glands. This makes it a brain stress problem, which means the root cause solution needs to focus on minimizing those chronic stressors. So chronic cortisol imbalances can cause weight gain, and weight gain can cause cortisol imbalance, right? It creates that vicious cycle. So let's nip that vicious cycle in the bud, so to speak. But what are some of those signs? What would you look for to know whether a cortisol is one of those culprits? Well, you want to look for blood sugar problems, okay? So dizziness, feeling weak, cravings and crashes, those kind of things. Chronic inflammation, all right, like the aches and the pains, that bloat that never seems to go away, any itises that you may be diagnosed with already. Look for craving salty or sugary foods, dizziness after standing up too quickly, which of course can also be low blood pressure related. And some of these things can be, a multitude of different things happening. You want to look for fatigue in the afternoon, but also followed by a second wind in the evening. Okay, that is what I often refer to as you're tired but wired. Okay, headaches in the afternoon, low sex drive, moodiness, troubles getting started in the morning, troubles losing weight, trouble staying asleep at night, weak nails, brittle, dry hair. Those are all symptoms or signs of cortisol imbalance. So that's the first hormone. The second one that can cause and affect your weight gain or loss is the thyroid hormones. So the thyroid gland regulates metabolism. It produces hormones to increase cellular activity and metabolism. If your thyroid is underactive, I'm just going to get onto my notes here. So if your thyroid is underactive, your cells don't get enough of that hormone, which can then seriously dial down your metabolism and thus lead to some weight gain. So what are symptoms to look for if you suspect that it might be the thyroid hormones? Well, one thing is brain fog. Also cold feet, cold hands, or cold all over, constipation, depression or lack of motivation, dry skin, excess hair loss or thinning, feeling tired, not just in the morning, just always, morning headaches that subside as the day goes on, different than cortisol, okay, which is usually afternoon kind of headaches. Rapid weight gain can be a sign and symptom, requiring extra sleep to function properly, and thinning of the outer third of eyebrows. Okay, those are some symptoms that your thyroid hormones are perhaps imbalanced, out of balance. So the third hormone I'll talk about is estrogen. There are three main estrogens. There's estrone, which is E1. There's estradiol, which is E2, and estriol, which is E3. So the ratio of these three is extremely important for men and women, okay? Having too much estrogen in the body causes many symptoms, and you know it if you're going through it, including weight gain, moodiness, and PMS or increased PMS discomforting symptoms. So if you have low estrogen, here are some symptoms to watch for: brain fog, depression, fatigue, hot flashes, night sweats, recurrent bladder infections, and a vaginal dryness. Okay, those can be symptoms of low estrogen. That's estriol. Now, low estrogen. Let's look at the symptoms of high estrogen or having excess estrogen in your body. So those symptoms can be anxiety, bloating, brain fog, breast tenderness, cervical dysplasia, which can come through in an abnormal pap smear result, depression as well. Gallbladder problems, heavy menstrual bleeding, insomnia, migraine headaches, mood swings, and rapid weight gain. So what I really find fascinating, if you relate to any of these signs or symptoms, ask yourself which of those two of the low estrogens or higher estrogens can you relate to more so? But I find that it's so interesting because so often a lot of these symptoms, I hear them like sort of in a vacuum from different people. Like, well, I get migraines. If you can look at that symptom, is that happening in concurrence with other symptoms? You may be able to start getting a picture like, hey, this might be time to look at what is my overall hormone picture looking like here. And not only that, but how the gut brain is then also being affected. Okay, so it's pretty awesome. So let's talk about progesterone. Progesterone is important for normal functioning of both male and female bodies, but of course we care about ours because we're all women here. We want the woman stuff. So progesterone is our feel-good hormone that balances and buffers the effect of estrogen. So for me, knowing that I am high estrogen at this point, I know because I have the symptoms, so I have to manage my high estrogen through lifestyle, diet, fitness changes. Also, when that is high, that feel-good hormone of the progesterone is lower. Okay, they have this inverse relationship. So it's no surprise then where it's like, the mood tanks and you get the anxiety and the irritability. And when you start to balance that, you find your mood balances as well. You get that creative spark back, right? Those days where you're like in the flow and vibing, you're doing it all right. It's all working out. Okay. But progesterone is that feel-good hormone. So without enough, estrogen levels can quickly get out of control, leading to estrogen dominance. And as a result, we can experience increased belly fat and fat around the hips and thighs, sometimes very suddenly over the course of just a few months. And I personally relate to this. This is me in a nutshell. Estrogen dominance, a lot of the weight for me is all coming around the belly. It all happened around the hips and thighs, okay, which was not normal for me up until I hit that stage where those things started to shift. So symptoms to look for when it is progesterone, that is one of the culprits, is anxiety, cyclical headaches. So headaches that kind of occur with your cycle. And again, I really relate to that as well. I never get headaches until just before my period. Infertility, insomnia, heavy flow, painful breasts, PMS, poor complexion, stubborn weight gain. Okay. Those can all be signs and symptoms of the progesterone. So let's also look at testosterone. So this is the next on our list of 7 hormones responsible for weight gain. Testosterone. This imbalance seems to be common in women in today's modern society. So we typically have high testosterone in younger women and low testosterone in women over 40. And what happens, several studies have linked testosterone to low sex drive, to heart disease, and even breast cancer in women. So this one is something that we need to be really aware of, okay? So for women, both too low or too high testosterone can lead to an inability to lose weight, and or it can lead to weight gain. Okay, so you've got both sides of that teeter-totter going on. So if you're wondering what are some signs to look for if it is testosterone, I'll talk about high testosterone first. Symptoms would be things like acne, excessive hair on the face and arms, hypoglycemia, and or unstable blood sugar. Infertility, again, can also be a symptom of testosterone. Mid-cycle pain or cramping, ovarian cysts, polycystic ovary syndrome, also known as PCOS in its shortened version, thinning hair, and weight imbalance. And I can say, we can fluctuate through varying phases of all of these at some point or another, if that relates to you, because I know as I read through those, I can relate to some of those high testosterone symptoms as well. Now let's look at the other side on low testosterone: inability to lose weight, weight gain, fatigue, and low sex drive. That's testosterone. And just a helpful tip on that, fast forward or rewind back a few months back when I did a webinar on sleep, and just very helpful to know why another reason to get that good sleep, because when we're in that deep REM sleep, that is when that testosterone hormone can be replenished. We can create more. Okay, so really focus on getting that good REM sleep to help bring those testosterone levels up if they're low, or talk to your doctor, your functional medical doctor, or your naturopath more on that. So 2 more left. Let's talk about leptin. It's number 6 on this list. So when it comes to leptin, if you've heard of this before, did you know that the fat cells in your body are part of your endocrine system? It's true. So it's not just a nuisance, okay, that makes your clothes not fit, but fat cells, I'm talking about, can oversee the production of the hormone leptin. Leptin is the fullness hormone that works by telling your brain that you are full. So just remember, leptin tells you that you are full. But sometimes your body, specifically the hypothalamus region in your brain, stops recognizing leptin. Leptin resistance is what can happen, which makes your brain think that too little leptin is being produced. So in that case, okay, so when too little leptin is being produced, the body can interpret that as fat reserves must be low. Okay, you must be starving. You need to store as much food as you can. This cause and effect process can result in excess fat storage and rapid weight gain. So again, it's like another little vicious circle, okay? So leptin is the fullness hormone. It tells your brain, or is supposed to tell your brain, when it is full. But when it doesn't, it's when your body stops recognizing that leptin communication signal, it makes your brain think too little is produced. So again, it tells your body, fat reserves must be low. Let's add more fat. You must be starving. We're not going to tell you you're full because you must be starving. And again, let's store as much fat as we can because she needs it, because she's starving. Okay, does that make sense? So what you might experience as well, because of imbalance with leptin, is rapid weight gain, weight loss resistance, frequent strong food cravings, okay, and high stress levels. So really, really important information here just to kind of be aware of. And I believe coming up in this 4-part series, in a couple weeks, I'm going to talk about 7 tests that you will want to ask your medical provider for. So stay tuned. That's going to be, I believe, week 3 of this series. And finally, I don't want to talk about that right now. I would like to talk a little bit more about insulin. And I'm just trying to make sure here that there are no comments. Okay, there's no comments yet. Okay. If you do have a comment or question, by all means, please post them so that I can respond to it. Or if you're watching live, please type live. Or if you're watching this on the replay, just type replay. Obviously, I'm live right now. So insulin, this is last on the list, but by no means any less important than the other 6. So like leptin resistance, insulin resistance is a hormonal resistance pattern and not a hormonal deficiency issue per se. Insulin resistance has been linked to obesity and many other health problems. Unfortunately, most people only recognize insulin resistance when it becomes type 2 diabetes. But the simple fact is you can be walking around in an insulin resistant state, which is also like a pre-diabetic state, without realizing it. So there are some things you can do. If you realize you are already in that insulin resistant state, you may be able to stave off, change, or flip the future end scenario. Okay. So when insulin resistance can occur in people who have subclinical blood sugar imbalances. So here are some symptoms to look for, and I'll just randomly shout them out here for you. So insulin imbalance symptoms: blurred vision, dependence on coffee, fatigue after meals, so fatigue after eating, feeling unusually irritated. I'm a parent, so I mean, I don't know whether that's insulin or just parenting. Frequent urination, hangry if you miss a meal, increased thirst or appetite, memory issues, you feel jittery, or you feel tremors. You have lots of sugar cravings. I just repeat that twice. You have lots of sugar cravings, or weight loss resistance. So any or all of those in combination. So I'm curious to know how many of you can relate to any of those insulin imbalance symptoms, because I know that I do. Absolutely. In today's let's go out for dinner, in today's here, I'm just going to grab this thing, in today's, life hack it, whatever, we're so busy. Absolutely. I truly believe that the majority of us are intaking way too much highly processed or sugared foods without even realizing it sometimes, because we are not conscious of it, and creating that sort of almost insulin resistance or full out insulin resistant state. So something to be aware of as you listen to this, any mental notes that you may want to look at a little further for your own health, to be aware of what could potentially happen. But the good news is there are so many lifestyle, nutrition, stress reducing behaviors and practices that we can implement to make sure that that doesn't happen to us. Or guess what? If it does, we can flip things. Sometimes things are not written in stone. You have the power to flip the narrative on your own health. Okay. So I want to move on from that. So those were the 7 hormones that can contribute to weight gain or hinder your weight loss. And so stay tuned, because next week, let me just give you a quick little overview of what's happening here next week. So next week, I'm going to go live as well on Wednesday. And next week, we're going to be talking about the 7 hormone tests to request. Okay. The 5 ways diet can disrupt your hormones. And I'll also talk about the 9 foods to watch out for. Last week, I believe I shared some foods that you want to add more of. Next week, I'm going to share the ones to watch out for. So that's going to be week 2. All right. But if you do have any questions or comments or feedback on what you've listened to or seen so far, I'd love to hear them. Thank you so much. I hope that you got some great information. And if you have questions, like I said, so also, if you are not already aware of it, I am constantly adding tools, products, and kind of done for you programs onto the balanceyourhormones.online website. It's not a sales pitch, okay? This is just an FYI for you to know that there are resources available. For many people, they're not ready for the whole nutrition coaching, personalized customization, and that's fine, okay? For whatever reason, there are tools available, whether it's a done for you 30-day plan for you to try out the recipes that are all hormone balancing focused. I've got some perimenopause packs in the store. There's a lot of new things I just added. And a second little point here is I've created a loyalty program on the site as well. So if you set yourself up for that, you have a chance to win points that will translate into rewards and money off certain programs and products for getting those resources. Okay, so get the resources, help yourself again, win-win. You can always book a free discovery call. All right, so the three main things, because I have people ask a lot. So what exactly do you do? What services can you provide me with? Well, aside from the free Fit Over 40 group and these free service-based webinars every week, okay, my signature value program is the VIP program. Ladies, this is where we cover everything. If you are a circle, we look at all parts of that circle, from mental and emotional to stress to triggers, okay, to food and nutrition, what you do and when, what time of the day, how you do it, what it looks like, what it feels like. We talk about food, what to eat and when, why, what foods work for you and don't. It can be very flexible and customized. It's all done through an app where you can track everything, you can access everything, you have coaching calls. It's the full meal deal if you want the end-to-end hormone balancing to change your habits and lifestyle behaviors, okay? I don't give you weight loss. You create habits and changes through lifestyle to create an environment where you can then lose weight. All right, I just want to make that distinction. So if you're interested in talking about that, book your free discovery call. I also do nutrition coaching on its own. I have nutrition programs that are more low touch and more high touch. Okay, both ends of the spectrum, depending on where you are financially and where you are in terms of needing accountability and change. And then the other two things I do, custom online fitness programs designed for you, video support, tell you what to do, how often, when, what days, how many reps, you name it, in through the app, scheduled for you with tracking and two-way messaging. And last but not least is the personal training here in Okotoks, which doesn't work for you if you're not in Okotoks. But those are the four main things I offer. Okay, so the coaching, the VIP signature consulting and coaching, and the personal training. So something for everybody, but check out the store because that's a nice low touch way to go and get some information that might give you menus, meal plans, recipe ideas, and shopping lists to get you started. Try those for 7 days and see how you feel. Get some of those guides, read through it, implement some of these strategies for sleep, for wake up, for what you're doing to work out and what you're eating, to see how that can start to really improve things, even with small, subtle changes. Okay, so there you go. I'm just under the 40-minute mark. Thanks for listening. This has been part one of the 4-part hormone-based weight loss series, and I'm excited for next week, guys. And thanks for being here, and thank you for supporting me, and have a wonderful day.